Boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka. I am here. Lori Webb is here with Taryn-lee Kearney, and I am excited and busting with joy and doing my boom shakalaka because that is who she is and what she's about. And you're going to be fortunate enough to hear more. I am excited because of the fact that we met uh, in a forum. I believe it was Kristen Thompson. I believe it was a
Yes.
speaker forum, and we connected and we're taught like having messages. But we this is the first time we're on screen together. I believe we did
Yes.
message at one point, and so we finally got it worked out that we could do something together. And I'm so excited. She is awesome. She's got great energy. She is so wonderful. She's doing wonderful things in the world. She just is on the tail end of her, not the tail end, on the the uh, the tail end, not the tail end. Lost the words, the expression, but
Um,
she just did her first TEDx.
Yay!
Woohoo! So what's going to happen is I'm going to, well, actually, why don't you just tell us about you a little bit more.
Yes, fabulous. So my name is obviously Taryn-lee Kearney, and I got the name Boom Chakalaka because of the fact that I have such high energy and passion for what I do, and I absolutely love being an entrepreneur. I'm from South Africa. Absolutely love my country. You guys are more than welcome to come visit sometime if you want. Just give me a call. But a little bit more about me. I am the CEO of a heart training and development now for 7, 8 years. And I'm the immediate past president of Toastmasters International here in Pretoria. And I'm also the president of the Professional Speakers Association here in Pretoria. A little bit more about me as well is I'm a brain profiler, I'm a business coach, a qualified international emotional intelligence practitioner. I've also been voted as one of South Africa's difference makers here in my country. And I just absolutely love what I do. I'm a big mental health advocate. And I just want to make the world a little bit of a better place by sharing my boom chakalaka vibes. So that's a little bit about me. Can you hear me, Laurie?
I'm mic'd. I'm unmiked. I'm now unmiked myself. I said wonderful.
Um, oh,
Okay.
shame. Thanks.
Awesome. I love boom chakalaka laka boom chakalaka. Uh, so what's going to happen now, everyone, is I'm going to cut out so that Taryn can do her presentation, and then I'll come back in at the end, and we'll chat for a little bit. And if you're ready, then let's share your screen.
Yes, I'm sharing it.
Okay, then it should come up. I'm not seeing it. Oh wait, I'll do that. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's
And
okay.
see you. Enjoy the presentation, everybody.
Thank you.
Except for maybe I want you to be in the presentation.
Oh,
Wrong button. Ah,
have
okay.
you got that now? You cool? Great stuff, guys. So I'm really excited to share a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey here. And what better way to do that than with a story? So I'm going to quickly tell you a story and the lessons I had learned along my entrepreneurship journey. So it was 3 a.m. It was bitterly cold. I was struggling to bend my fingers despite layers and layers of clothing. The wind was howling so loud around me at 4,900 meters, still a long way to go, with only the stars and a small headlamp to guide me. I don't know what I was thinking, but I decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It's the tallest mountain in Africa, and it's 7 times taller than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and that's quite high. Mount Kilimanjaro is also not really forgiving towards oxygen at that height, but I discovered many entrepreneurial lessons along the way while climbing, doing my 7 day journey. And when I was on the mountain, 3 o'clock in the morning, we were going for the summit. My mind just was because I was filled with so much negativity, in all honesty, and I want to today be very vulnerable with you. I was filled with so much negativity, and I was really struggling with the group of climbers that I went with. And long story short, I really felt that my own mental health was taking a toll. Now, a lot of people will ask me, why did you decide to climb Mount Kilimanjaro? Well, I thought it was a really great idea. at the time when my friend asked me if I'd climb Kilimanjaro for a cause. And naturally, me being me, I said yes without hesitation because I'm an opportunist. And a lot of the times we do that in business, right? We have our business and opportunities come along the way, and we just have to say yes. So, I mean, how hard could it be to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, right? Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. But anyhow, so the journey started, and it was an absolutely beautiful place. But what really surprised me was not the lessons that nature taught me. I thought, being in nature, I'll learn a lot, but it was the lessons on humanity that I learned, and it was the greatest lesson ever. And there's this awesome poet, John Donne. I don't know if you guys know of him. 400 years ago, he said the following: "No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent." And why am I bringing this up is because we are all connected. And I discovered this on the mountain, which was really interesting, is that we are culturally, intellectually, emotionally connected, and we cannot live without the human connection. And a lot of the times we experience these connections in the most unlikely of places, maybe at a coffee shop or maybe at a co-working space. But a lot of the times, if you're not open to these connections with other entrepreneurs or human beings in the world, you're going to miss out on quite a bit. And I really enjoyed the whole journey on Kilimanjaro because I was, first of all, climbing for a cause, which was mental health awareness. Now, just to backtrack on that, my mother was diagnosed 4 years ago with bipolar, and it absolutely was a nightmare for our family. And you always have this thought in the back of your mind that it will never happen to you. And in all honesty, I never really understood it so much, what was mental health or what was mental illnesses, and especially bipolar. And it turned our world upside down. But I also saw that with regards to mom, that the stigma just totally broke her self-confidence. She had a lot more doubt. And there was all this labeling about people that have the diagnosis of bipolar. And I wanted to show her that nothing is impossible despite her challenges. And what better way to do that then is to climb a mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. I still don't know what I was thinking to this day, but I'm here. I survived. But time flew. We started preparing for our journey, and I started getting a lot of struggles preparing for the climb for Mount Kilimanjaro. And one of them was that I still couldn't find my hiking clothes, and it was only a week before we depart South Africa for Tanzania. And I don't know if you can really see, but I'm a lovely, curvy-licious woman. And here in South Africa, there wasn't suitable, comfortable sizes. And I really, really struggled with that. So then I started finding excuses, or I'm like, Taryn, should you really be climbing this mountain? Can you handle this? You're prepared, but all the self-doubt, which we always get in entrepreneurship, right? And before I knew it, we were there. I found my hiking clothes, and I arrived at Machami Gates at the Kilimanjaro National Park. I was so nervous, but super excited for this journey. Because first of all, because I was doing it for a cause, I had a purpose. And secondly, it was something that I could tick off my bucket list. Although, funny enough, it was never on my bucket list. And here's the thing, sometimes on our entrepreneurial journey, things such as climbing Mount Kilimanjaro or perhaps starting another business that you never thought you wanted to start comes along your way. And before you know it, you're in the middle of it and you need to grind and hustle to get it done. And it's exciting at first, right? So what happened was it was a 7-day journey, and we started trekking through the forest. It was absolutely beautiful, tall, lush trees and the sounds of monkeys playing, and energies were high, conversations were flowing the whole time. But then I had a bit of a problem. I started coughing. Now, a week before leaving Kilimanjaro, I found my hiking clothes, fortunately, but then I was diagnosed with acute bronchitis before I left. So that Sunday that I left, I was on my final antibiotic. And so it was a little bit of a struggle, still getting better, and the doctor advised me not to climb Kilimanjaro. Now, obviously, when you're so time invested and financially invested in a journey that is going to change people's lives, I couldn't back down. I mean, I told everyone possible, that I was going on this adventure, and that if you want to do anything, you can, and you set your mind to it, you can achieve it. Nothing's impossible, right? But little did I know, again, I had those internal challenges the whole time. And day one came, I was really struggling with coughing, and I met this gentleman, Jason. He was one of my fellow climbers on Kilimanjaro. And it was the coolest thing ever. He turned to me and he said to me, Taryn, I can see you're really struggling. Let me carry your backpack for you. And totally blown away, but also conflicted. I mean, I was keeping the group behind. I was struggling to breathe, and I was struggling to accept help. Because as an entrepreneur, we're so used to doing things all by ourselves. And I felt extreme feelings of shame and guilt. And before I knew it, I handed over my backpack. And that day, this gentleman, Jason, he showed me the impact that kindness and empathy can have on other human beings, such as myself. And before I knew it, the day came to an end. And I also noticed this in our porters, the compassion, the empathy, and the kindness. And they would carry our 30 kg additional luggage each day. They would bring us hot water bowls to bath from the mountains, the ice, and they would melt it down. They would bring us delicious ginger tea to warm our bodies. There were so many compassionate acts that these porters did for us on the mountain, that I certainly declare to this day that Mount Kilimanjaro's currency is compassion. Now, what happened was, after day one, I was struggling to breathe. Jason carried my backpack, and then they finally decided to give me my own guide for the day, for the 7 days journey. And this gentleman that you can see here on the left, his name is Charlie, and he was going to be my sidekick, like Batman and Robin, which is quite exciting. And we journeyed off throughout the days, for the days to come. Now, along the day two was there, day three came along. But now, what was really, really cool is that on day three, I earned the nickname Taryn the Terminator. And this by my fellow climber, Will. And to this day, I don't think Will knows the true impact of his words, because we tend to forget that words can be dangerous and beautiful, and they hold so much power to them. And we know this when we're communicating with our customers, with our clients, or even with our colleagues, or when we're doing collaborations, or when we want to send a message across digitally as well. Our words are so important. Before I knew it, coming back to Kilimanjaro, day four was going by, day five went by, and we hiked up and down in order to climatize, as Kilimanjaro has 40% less oxygen than the air you're breathing right now. And I was really exhausted, endless walking. We finally made it to base camp. We prepared to leave for the summit that night at midnight. I remember putting layers and layers of clothing on, a big white snow jacket, and I walked out my tent feeling like the Incredible Hulk, ready to take on Kilimanjaro once and for all. But still, back of my mind, what was I thinking? Because hiking and camping does not exist in my vocabulary at all. But I knew I had a purpose, I had a stronger why. So we set off for the summit, and it was bitterly cold. You could only see snow prints in front of you. You were following them tirelessly, one foot in front of the other. Now and then I would have to smack myself awake because I'd catch myself falling asleep, to a point where the sun was rising on Stella Point, which is the second highest peak on the mountain. And then it just happened. My body fell to the ground. And it was one of the most brutal times in my life. It was filled with so much confusion because I only had 400 meters to go before I reached the highest peak, which was Uru Peak. And the porters and my guide had told me I had mountain fatigue. And mentally, I wanted to keep going, but physically, I just couldn't. So I had to make an excruciating decision to give up, fail, and go back down the mountain. Now, while descending Mount Kilimanjaro, there were just tears streaming down my face. I was filled with so much emotion. I was feeling so numb and alone despite all the climbers around me. And it was the longest 16 hours of my life descending down to our last camp. And this man, Charlie, my guide, he sat me down on a rock, and it was one of the most profound moments in my life. He sat me down on a rock, he squeezed my left shoulder, he gave this big smile that he's wearing right now, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, Hakuna Matata. Um, Now, I know you all want to say, what a wonderful phrase, right? Because we all know Lion King. But generally, I promise you, he said Hakuna Matata, which is Swahili for no worries. But deep down inside, I knew what he really meant, that life doesn't always go the way we want it to. Hakuna Matata, it's going to be okay. And before I knew it, my journey was coming to an end. I was a little bit disappointed. There was so much uncertainty and a little bit of regret. I mean, I didn't reach the highest point, the summit, and I was quite disappointed. And before leaving, Charlie could see this, and he placed a flower garland over my head to congratulate me. And he leaned in and he said to me, Taryn, you are a brave woman. You conquered Mount Kilimanjaro. Kwaheri, goodbye. And then he turned around and just simply walked away. And I realized that day that it took a stranger to come to my mental salvation, and that Charlie was absolutely right. Kilimanjaro wasn't all about the summit. It was more about the journey and the lessons I had learned along the way. And the greatest lesson of them all is basically on humanity. And what's a lesson without a formula, right? So I developed a formula for entrepreneurs. And this formula is basically a formula that I use every day now in my business life to make sure that I'm connecting with any person, any human being around me, actually. It may be my customers, my personal relationships, my colleagues, my collabs, my teams. I wanted to know that because Kilimanjaro taught me so much about human connection, I wanted an easy formula for me to use every day in my business, because human connection has been proven to improve our mental health, and it has also, what it does is it enhances our relationships. And believe it or not, the way we are going now, going into the fourth industrial revolution, they say it's going to be our greatest success tool in our businesses, which is quite exciting. So let me tell you a little bit about our formula. It's C plus C plus C equals C. Very simple, right? Now, I kept it simple because I got a B for maths. So I don't know how everyone in the globally the world works, but if you get an A, it's right about 80 to 100%, and if you get a B, it's below 80. So I thought I'd keep it simple for you guys. The first one is courage. We need to have the courage every day as entrepreneurs to trust in other people, such as Charlie, my guide, and to trust in our own abilities as entrepreneurs, because sometimes we do tend to doubt ourselves, right? And we also need to have the courage to forgive ourselves when we fail to reach our summits. And that took a few months afterwards when I came back from Kilimanjaro to forgive myself, because as entrepreneurs, sometimes we tend to be very hard on ourselves. We're very ambitious, and we've had set a goal in our mind, and we don't reach it. Maybe it wasn't the season to reach it. Maybe you didn't have enough resources to reach it, or something might have happened. But sometimes, and most times, we need to forgive ourselves if we fail to reach our summit, because it's about the journey, right? And the lessons you learn. The second C is compassion. As I mentioned, Kilimanjaro's currency is compassion. Empathy and kindness goes such a far way, and it can be such a powerful force that we can use in our businesses to heal the entrepreneurial industry with regards to mental health. And why I say that is because research now indicates that entrepreneurs, 44% of them are prone to fall into depression because of all the stresses, as well as 37% is prone to fall into burnout. And the research indicates that the more compassionate we are with others and people are towards us, it's a powerful force that can be used in order to have something called collective joy. And collective joy is, for example, we just recently experienced this in South Africa, where everyone was watching the World Games. I don't know if you guys have rugby in your part of the world, but it was the World Rugby Game series, and of course South Africa won, and our whole country came together and was united, and was the most wonderful thing to experience. But the impact it left, I mean, the rugby game's over, right? We won it, great, we've moved on. But the ripple effects have been beyond powerful. So courage and compassion. And the last one is conversations. Now, what do I mean with regards to this? Remember, I spoke earlier on about words and how they tend to be dangerous and beautiful and hold so much power to them. Is that just engaging in conversations with others, maybe in, like, as I mentioned, in a co-working space or at a networking session, because sometimes we don't like networking, right? Or going to a conference or being on the summit right here today in the comment section, conversing with one another. It builds trust, long-term relationships, and it can actually change people's lives. And together, these three C's form connection, a human connection. And it's as simple as this, is to incorporate human connection in your everyday business. And I have found that since I've done this now repetitively and consistently for the past 6 months, I have been able to double my income, which is quite awesome, right? So that's something I wanted to share with you. And just the last section is because I am very passionate about mental health. I thought it was really important to just give you 10 ways to improve it in your business, as well as you as an entrepreneur yourself. Because we need to have a strong mind and a great healthy body in order to succeed in everyday life. So, number one is business is not an overnight success. Now, I know most of us have heard this before, but sometimes we do tend to get a little bit impatient when things don't work out in the season that we want to, or in the timing that we want to. But it really is hard work, consistency, showing up every day, but knowing that it will pay off. You just got to keep going at it and be resilient and persist, persist, persist. Secondly, is batch your projects. I have found that since I've come back from the mountain, I used to be a very disorganized entrepreneur, and using a simple platform like Asana, um, there's also Slack. There's so many platforms out there that you can use for free to organize your life. I think one of the big ones is also Trello, where you can do to-do lists and things like that, and batch your projects accordingly. When you batch your projects, and you also schedule your time accordingly with those projects, you have more time for yourself. So, what I mean with regards to that is every Friday, regardless of what happens during the week, I take a mental health day in my business. So, technically, I only work from Monday to Thursday, and Friday, I do activities that help improve my mental health. Number three is to set things on autopilot. Now, I won't be able to have those mental health days if I don't do this in my business. Obviously, my business still needs to be running, but if you have scheduling, if you have systems and processes in place, and you can put it on autopilot, I highly recommend you get down to that as soon as possible. I promise you, again, I'm saying, talking from a disorganized entrepreneur myself, and I was like, oh, come on, this is the creative in me, a chaotic creative mess, right? I promise you, systems and processes do work. So try and get them done as soon as possible, especially going into the year 2020. Number four is to outsource. Now, in the beginning, I was a very small business a few years back, and I was very reluctant to outsource due to financial strain. But what I noticed is that there are different ways to outsource, such as students, interns, different ways. So you can also you can kill two birds with one stone, by meaning you can get someone to help in your business, but not just that, you can give back by teaching and giving a student experience in the corporate world or in the business setting. And I think that's powerful in itself, education. So outsource more. I used to hate doing my accounting and my books, absolutely loathed it. And I kept doing it, and it took up so much time, and I was negative, and it frustrated me. And I was like, I outsourced it. The moment I outsourced it, I actually had time to do things in my business that I really wanted to do. Number 5, reflect on your own successes. So a lot of times we tend to focus too much on our weaknesses or what we have failed at in the past. And yes, it's good to reflect on them and learn from those mistakes. But we sometimes, most times, forget to reflect on our past successes or our current successes and really celebrate them. So every time I do a training session or a webinar, for example, or something that where I'm giving back and I'm enjoying it, and it's a success for me, I go treat myself to a platter of sushi with lots of ginger and wasabi and soy sauce. And that's my treat. And I say, well done, Taryn. Kudos to you. You did it. So really do celebrate and reflect on those successes, what you did right and what you can do better in the future. Number 6 is a no-brainer. Simon Sinek said this himself. Remember your why. Your purpose and your why always keeps you grounded, especially with regards, and it helps give you clarity in the decision-making processes that you have ahead. A lot of the times we tend to get distracted by all these other side projects, all these other opportunities, but it's not aligned with our why. And then it feels like the wheels of the bus is falling off and we don't know why, but it's because it's your why, of course. So try to hone down on what your why is and why are you in business in the first place. And yes, it is, our main purpose is to make money, but there's a greater purpose. For me, it's to really uplift and empower people so they can go out there and make a great success of themselves and really use their full potential. And that's just power in its own. Give them those aha moments. So, what is your why? Number 7 is don't negate your self care. Oh my gosh, this is so important. And it's something that I really, really struggled with because I'm such an empath. I want to give the whole time. And something very profound, one of my friends said, is that you cannot pour out of an empty cup. And it's really true. You cannot. And it really does impact your mental health when you do not look after yourself. Now, there's different ways you can do self-care. It's maybe perhaps going out for nature walks, going to parks, going to buy yourself an ice cream, going to do your nails, going for a massage, reading a book for the morning, whatever it may be. You need to find what works for you, but try to do it more often. And these activities I do on my mental health off Fridays. All right, number 8 is comparisitis. I hope I said that right, but I am so guilty of this, and I've only started really learning about this past year, is that we tend to compare ourselves quite often to other entrepreneurs in our industries or wherever it may be. And what we don't realize is that they've also had a journey. Yes, some of them may reach the summit, but they've also had lessons and a journey that they had to go through. And again, it's going back to number 1, that your business can't be an overnight success. It's something of working hard every day and being consistent. But also, don't compare yourself to their story. You are unique in your own right, and you are on your own journey. And comparing is only going to give you negative thoughts. It's going to create self doubt, and you're going to start making excuses as to why you can't do certain things in your business. I was so guilty of this. And the moment I stopped doing that, I started embracing it and started asking the people who I look up to as for mentorship and for coaching, my world just opened up. Number 9 is to avoid distractions. As much as I love social media, it can be very distracting, especially with regards to your mental health. And it's been proven, according to research, that people and that employees and companies actually only are productive 4 hours a day in the working day. And that's very little compared to the full 8-9 hours that they were hired to be there. Now, that's awesome if you can get your work and your time management right. But what happens is we get these distractions of social media. There's a new craze here in South Africa with an app called TikTok. And last week, I only realized that I have been sitting on this app for 2 hours going through these short little bursts of videos. And it became an absolute distraction. Whereas I could have used those 2 hours for something more productive. So sometimes we do tend to fall into those distractions. So it's really best to identify what are those distractions in your business, and how can you use that time rather to focus on your business so that you can have those mental health day Fridays, or to do things that you want to do. And the last one is take breaks. Step out of the office, go meet up friends for a quick networking lunch, or a nice collab brainstorm. But we sit so cooped into our four-walled offices, and we're in the same environment for long hours and long periods. Some of us work from home. I know I have my office from home, and I'm cooped at home 24/7 because I live here as well as work here. So for your mental health, they advise it's really, really, really important to just step out of your office, get fresh air, go for a drive, go listen to music, go to a cafe, a local library, a park. But there are so many options, and it doesn't have to be for a long period. It can be for a half an hour, and come back, and you'll see and you'll notice how more focused you are on the work at hand because you took a break. And that goes with regards to the research of ergonomics. So, guys, those were my 10 ways to improve your mental health in your business as well as an entrepreneur. I really hope you enjoyed my formula of C plus C plus C equals C and my 10 ways. And it's over to you, Laurie. Thank you.
Loved it so much.
There you
So
go.
there you go. Thank you so much, Taryn. That was great.
Pleasure.
I was excited to hear your story about I to hear it straight from you, because I had seen it in pieces, reading about it and things, but very fascinating. I think it's wonderful what you do. I say obviously because I've
Thank
said
you.
it a few times, but something you didn't talk about, which I think, for the purposes of this entrepreneur hotline, which is all about supporting entrepreneurs and being here just to have that compassion, to also to pretty much we're trying to follow your formula without knowing that we were right, having
Yeah,
the
that's
courage
true.
to do it and having the compassion and making those connections, doing all those great things,
Mm,
that can be difficult. But
yes.
this thing that you did that really struck me, it was last year, I think it was mental health day. You do the things with the rocks.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So what happened was, I came back from Mount Kilimanjaro. I felt like a failure. I felt like I didn't reach the summit, and I was trying to get over that. And I thought, what better way now? Kilimanjaro is done and dusted. I can't do anything about it. I can always try next year, to reach the summit. But what can I do right now to change more people's lives, to make a bigger impact, and start spreading the awareness of mental health? And anyone can do this globally. And I created the project called the Rock Bottom Project because sometimes as entrepreneurs, we do hit rock bottom, right? We do have those off days where we just can't get out of bed, or we do have those days where we just feel, bleh, give me ice cream and keep quiet. So what we did was I developed the idea of the Rock Bottom Project, and this is where in the month of October, or every month that you choose, you paint messages of hope on a rock, and you leave them in a public space, in a public area, and people can just walk along and pick up a rock, and people can leave rocks. I've been having schools participate, I've been having universities, I've been having corporates participate, and this year in total, we handed over out 1,000 rocks. And I can only imagine where those rocks are all over the world, but it has such an impact on people just knowing that there's a particular message because of those words that I spoke about, how dangerous and beautiful they can be. And we just try to leave beautiful words on a rock to inspire people and just give them some glitch of hope.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. You don't know this, but I was in Vegas at the time, and I was walking around up towards the mountains of outside of Vegas. Actually, well, it's surrounded. There's a desert. You know anything about Las Vegas besides the lights, the bright lights? Well,
No, it's a desert.
huge mountains all over. And so I was living with my sister. I went to visit my sister, but I was there for 6 weeks, so it felt like I was living there. Uh, and I was up in the mountains and looking at I started collecting rocks because of your project. So I started thinking, I was so impacted by it, and I was like, oh,
Wow.
oh, wow, rock bottom, rock bottom. Yeah, I like it. I like it. And then I was like
Wow.
collecting rocks, and I couldn't bring them home, but I was just really thinking every time I was looking at the rocks, and I was thinking about your
Wow.
project, and I was really inspired by it. And I told my sister about it as well and said, oh, it's really this great thing that she's doing. And she's like, oh, wow.
Oh,
She sounds,
wow, Lori.
boom shakalaka. She didn't say that.
Yeah.
Now, actually, let's talk about the boom shakalaka. Uh,
Mm.
so you decided to call is your company called Boom Shakalaka?
So, funny story. Every time I enter a room, people say I just have this vibe about me, this energy that's contagious. And this one gentleman walked into the room and he said to me, Taryn, we have to name this energy that you have. And he all of a sudden just shouted out, boom chakalaka. And before I knew it, was like hotcakes, and everyone was calling me the boom chakalaka girl here in South Africa. And basically, it's just a term that people call me. It's not my business's name or whatever. They just identify me by the word boom chakalaka. So I kind of, yeah, it's kind of become quite a craze here in South Africa.
Yeah, I think you should package it up because it's a craze that has also hit here in in Denmark, at least in this room. Because I'm
Ah,
talking about the boom shakalaka. I love it. So I
yay!
think it's a great name. I think it's one of those things that, when the name describes, like you get it, right?
Yes.
If I'm, especially in terms of branding, which is also my area, and to think, if I say to someone, I'm going to hire this woman from South Africa known as the Boom Shakalaka Girl, they know that they're getting something that has some firecracker energy, right?
And some spice and some extra spice.
And like that with a lot of wasabi.
You know
So
it.
yeah, so I do love it. I'm so excited, and yeah, Inspak
Awesome.
is the Danish name that I took from my company because Inspak means to inspire, to inform, motivate, and to kick in the butt, and that's kind of what I
Yeah.
do. So it's my version of boom shakalaka,
Well,
but I
you
like boom
definitely get that
shakalaka.
right.
I love boom
You are you are rocking entrepreneur world. Can I just say that you are rocking it and you are making such a big difference, especially with the summit. And I think people should just share this more often. We need this more often. I think you should start doing this 365 days a week.
That
Yeah.
that is what that is the plan, my friend. That is the plan.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is the project because what happened just really quickly that I was thinking at one point with especially it really connects to a lot of what you're talking about, the need for mental health, the issues, the
Mm,
stigma, the frustration, the psychological barriers, the things that
mm,
come up when we feel like we failed, even though the failing is really the
mm.
failing is only when you don't try. But
That's
if
correct.
you don't miss the mark, if you I've gone from failing to faltering. I think that's a better
Yes,
word
that's
because
lovely. Yes.
so you falter, but if you keep going, you will succeed, right? You will,
Mm,
you may not succeed in the way you thought, right? Like you went to master Kilimanjaro, you did
yes.
succeed, you Hakuna Matata it, but
And you know
it,
what? I realized as well, which is quite fascinating, is when I came back and I did some healing and some self care and just reflection that I reached my summit. So
yes,
it might have not been Uru Peak, but it was Taryn Peak.
yes,
And it was my summit, and that's what I could manage. And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we need to know when is our peak
yes.
before we hit that burnout stage or before we fall into a deeper depression.
And I think it goes to, I can't remember which number it was. Was it 7 comparativitis?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
number 8. Yeah,
number
comparatitis. There we go.
comparativitis. Okay, yes. Me, say potato, I say potato. This concept of comparing oneself with everything is really also really important that
Mm,
we're aware that when we're doing that, that if you're if you have achievements if you have ideas of what you want to achieve, and you're not tuned in and tapped into who you are, like that's why the mental health and the intuit, like self-care, and part of the self-care I would say is also managing your own expectations and desires and not being clouded by somebody else's idea.
And distractions. And that was number 9. Yes,
Yeah.
avoiding. So they all integrate nicely with one another. Because I know I'm so guilty of that, is that I do get quickly distracted by external things. And only once I started focusing on my business and how I like to do things and set my core and my foundations, I started doubling my profits.
Yes.
Because I wasn't looking everywhere else and I wasn't trying to manage leaks. I was just focusing on perfecting or progressing in my business as much as I could.
I think you were working in, for lack of a better expression at the moment, you're working in your zone of genius, right? You were
Yes,
working for you with your objectives and then just doing it. And I think that's everybody. If we use what we have and focus on using what we have, then we have a greater opportunity to succeed. I am mismanagement
definitely,
by distraction. So I know if I
definitely.
honed in, like I've said,
Yeah.
the biggest problem in my business.
But you know what's so interesting is that you said using what you have right now. We always saying that we always, and that's where the excuses start coming up, right? Like, for example, I don't have enough time, or I don't have the right team, or I don't have the right enough money to do it. And I think what's stopping you from being creative and using what you've got? Because I mean, we've seen phenomenal businesses totally boom chakalaka out of this world because of the fact out of a garage because of the fact is that they used what they had at that time. And I think that's also where the power of collaboration comes in and co-creation, because there's so much power to that because you're collaborating and co-creating on a project, which can actually really impact your business for the longer run. So it's quite exciting, actually. I love collaborating. I love it.
It's what makes the world go round.
Yes,
And
definitely. I mean,
I'm gonna take your C's and I'm gonna raise it one, and that is
oh,
because I think there's another element that really is powerful, and that's commitment, right?
yes, that is so
So
true.
I use that because the reason when I started researching my book on entrepreneurial profiles, it had to do with wanting to also understand the entrepreneurial spirit. Because when you start taking
Mm,
the entrepreneurial spirit into account, how it permeates, and that is the
mm,
drive, that is the commitment that takes you through everything.
yes.
And if you take a person who is committed, like you can take talent and you can take commitment, and commitment will kick
Mm.
talent's butt every day of the week.
All the time, every time.
Yes.
Well, look at that. And there's another C, consistency. Hey?
It's all about consistency. Yes,
Just
I love
bring
it.
on the
Oh,
C's.
yes,
Bring on the
absolutely.
C's.
That is really
Yes.
important. This is an important topic because
Yes.
you can't, what is the expression? How you do anything, how you do
Um,
everything is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything. There we go. That's the one. Yes. Okay, but they must let us know in the comments if they've got any other C words that they'd like to put into that formula.
Uh,
Why not?
correct, appropriate C words, people. Like
Yes. Only C words. We're very biased.
a lot that I love. I can see, you can probably tell, I love words like you love words.
Yes.
And
I
it's
love
a,
to talk a lot as well. So
I think that, when you have a lot on your mind, you have a lot to express. There's a lot bubbling out.
definitely. And I think it's also because we're so passionate about entrepreneurship and it's really important to lean onto one another. And just like a little bit of a side note or a message I'd like to give everyone out there is reach out and ask for help. When I talked about Jason and him carrying my backpack, I felt so like conflicted. I was like, Taryn, you prepared for this. You should be able to carry your own backpack. That guilt and that shame did not belong there. And I realized in that time, in that moment, that it did not belong there and that he was offering to help me. And then all I had to do was just accept it. And the moment I accepted it, he encouraged me every step of the way. He lifted me up. But not just that, he also gave me the greatest lesson of them all is that it's okay to accept help. So ask. Entrepreneurs need to go out there and ask for help. I mean, yes, as much as Google is awesome, what better way to ask for help from than your fellow entrepreneur? I mean, you never know what struggles they are in and how you can perhaps help them by just asking for help yourself.
And that is actually really nicely a segue into, again, that this is why we have the entrepreneur hotline, why it's 24/7,
Mm,
because
yes.
entrepreneurs work 24/7, or they don't work, but it's a part of their lifestyle, and we're finding increasingly the need for it. When I originally had the idea, there was less documentation of it. There was more an inkling, a gut feeling on my part, and some things that I had experienced that I thought, we need this. We need this. And
Yes.
this is the pilot project that shows that we, the amount of that people who are it's resonating with, and that people are getting back and saying that they, especially the speakers have been thrilled to share their knowledge, and that is a collaborative effort. That is, everyone's coming on, and you get paid to do what you do. You get paid to share your knowledge.
Yes.
You get paid to use your brilliance, and you're here also offering it up in the spirit of creating this mutual product that I believe will be something important, and something where it's a
Mhm.
win-win-win for everyone, that everyone gets a chance to benefit from. So
I think that's powerful in its own right. It's really powerful. And you mentioned another two C's there, by the way. We're on fire, Laurie. I love it. Yes, keep them coming.
let's talk cat. I'm gonna add new ones. Okay, which two did I mention?
Creating and collaborating.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love this.
But of course, in truth, in terms of sustainability, I think that
Mm,
we should, in truth, I was teasing, but cash needs to be a part of it, because
yes, cash flow.
if you
Mm,
don't have it, you can't continue doing what you're doing. This has been my big challenges working in the nonprofit sector, is
yeah.
that people build these systems and they're reliant upon volunteers. And it doesn't matter how passionate you are and how
Mm,
committed you are, if you have to pay bills, if you're living in a world where you actually have to use cash, then you need to get cash, because you
yes.
can't go and use empathy dollars at the store, right?
No,
They're not
no, it
taking them.
doesn't.
I
No.
want them to take them, but they're not taking them.
You
Trying to
know what? I'm so guilty of this. I am so guilty of this because a lot of the times when I do business coaching for female entrepreneurs, they tend to be a lot of financially struggling entrepreneurs. And all I just want to do is, because I'm so passionate about it, is make them see their potential and really just hone down. So what I have done is I've started realizing with my own business coach is that I need to start charging my worth, and that if I'm able to do so, I can help more people in the long run with other things such as free online courses and free online coaching sessions, or time to do webinars like these. So I agree with you 100%, Laurie. And it's also something that women are quite guilty of. I know it's more a bigger problem in women, in female entrepreneurs, and that we feel, we pity, we have shame, we have guilt, we have all these things, these emotions. But in the end, it's a business, and you need to run a business. And my husband is such a great businessman himself. He's got 2 to 3 businesses, and he said to me something that was so profound. He says, in the end, who's going to pay your bills? So, in the end, will that person sitting in front of you be able to pay your bill? And my answer is always no. And he says, well, then that's something you need to have a look at. So he says, always ask yourself that question, who's going to pay the bill? And if the answer is me, which it usually is, I need to realize that I need to be able to charge what I am worth. Yeah. And
exactly.
because, and then when you do that, again, like I mentioned, you make a greater impact and you can actually do more for the community
And that's
because you're
something that
earning more.
everyone needs to pay attention to, because it's so
Mm,
easy. I mean, for empaths like the two of us here, uh,
yes.
you want to help, but the thing is, it's misguided in that if people, if it's not sustainable, then it's like your friend said, and I'm going to be using that quote. So I need a name, or I'm just going to be attributing it to you. And that is, you can't pour out of an empty cup, right?
Yes, I actually think it's by some famous. I must actually go have a look. Some famous doctor.
Okay, I'll
I
go
must
do.
actually go have a look. Yeah, I think she heard it from that one. Yeah, because and it's so true. You cannot. And I realized it very quickly when I came back from Kilimanjaro. I just wanted to give, 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 and in the end, I was suffering more.
Yes.
And a little bit on the side note, as Laurie said, I realized I was giving these people, but they weren't giving anything back. So what I mean with
After
regards
that
to
first
that
point.
is
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, so sorry, no, so what I mean with regards to that, there was no trade off. So my husband, very wise man, actually, so glad I'm married to him, thank goodness. But he's my little business sidekick. But he said to me that if you are in a position where they can give you something you need or want, and you can give them something that they need and want, why not do an exchange? And what I actually do is I actually still invoice my friends or maybe the person I want to do the trade off. I say, for example, business coaching, X amount, and then at the bottom I put 00,
Yes.
so that they know my actual worth and that when they want to refer me to other people, they know what I charge. So it was just a smart business, Oh, I think he's even more sexier now that I think about it.
Oh, it's going to be a busy night in Pretoria. Are you in Pretoria?
I'm in Pretoria. Too busy. We can't edit this out.
Where?
Sorry, PG-18.
Yeah, that's all
I'm,
right.
I'm,
Sound
I'm,
good. Sound
yeah.
good.
I'm based in Pretoria in South Africa, and it's extremely hot right now. It's summer. And no, we do not have zebras or elephants walking around freely. I always get that question. I live in a normal house with a roof. But we do have the phenomenal Big Five here. We have diverse people, 11 nationalities, 11 national languages. And it's just an absolute, I cannot explain the vibe here at the moment because we won the World Cup. Everyone is just in a good mood. And I promise you, compassion is literally contagious here. Everyone is just giving, hugging, and then it's such a good, loving vibe. So I can't wait for you guys to come to South Africa. So please come, tell
Yes,
me.
I would love to
And I'll
come.
come, yeah,
When
I'll
does
come show
summer
you.
end?
Summer ends, so we have longer summers. So summer's usually right throughout the year, but we only have June and July that is winter. And our winter is quite, it's not cold at all. So our winters, our lowest, I think, is 3 degrees Celsius.
Mhm.
I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's 3 degrees
Should know.
Celsius.
I want to say it's like a little bit under 40. I've lived here too long.
Yeah.
Europe too long. I get confused about it.
Yeah, so I think it's not too cold actually. So we have summer African sun. So come visit us in South Africa. And I must be honest with regards to South Africa, entrepreneurship is really big here at the moment because of the fact that there's a high unemployment rate currently in South Africa. People are taking to entrepreneurship, starting their own businesses, starting businesses with friends, with high school friends. So entrepreneurship is a big thing here at the moment. It's a hot commodity. And it's
Yes.
also really easy to do business here. I'm going to be very honest with you. People are very giving and people are very willing. Business is just really easy to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, here's a
And,
question. Do you do co-op spaces and do you have
yes.
like what is the vibe for a co-op space in Pretoria, for example?
Cool. So I was in a co-working space for quite some time, and it's people from different industries that come into this co-working space. And what's quite nice is that people come in from their different industries and just give free workshops, free educational value all the time. The vibe is off the charts. Why do I say so? Is because we instantaneously become friends. South Africa is a very friendly country, and so much power when you hear someone's perspective in a different industry. For example, I had someone in my co-working space that's an architect, and I would tell him, "Oh, I have this problem X, Y, Z," and he'd be like, "But why don't you try it this way?" And he came it from a design perspective, and it's just absolutely amazing that it doesn't matter what industry you are in, there's always ways to bounce off ideas and do strategy planning with other people in other industry. And people are just always open to helping you here in South Africa. You will never be stranded here, but you have to have the accountability and the courage to ask for help. Take it. Take the initiative, ask for help, and have the courage. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. We need to be lifelong learners, right?
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to be moving on in the educational aspect because we have another speaker who's booked like right on the edge of this one. So we're going to say
Oh,
thank you to Taryn for
yay!
all of her great information and inspiration. And
Oh,
we wish you the very best and thank you for watching. And please, share this. It's going to be
yes.
available through social media and through the platform. We are curating everything to make it nice and polished and clean. And we will get, if you're interested in finding out how you can get more and how you can connect and
Mm,
how we develop this so that it can be 365 and have all kinds of goodies for you throughout any day, whenever it hits you, wherever you are, then please sign
mm.
up at the
Sign up, everyone. You
entrepreneur.com.
got to sign up. Yeah, you got to sign up. Boom chakalaka, everyone. All the best. Thank you, Laurie, for the opportunity. And guys, go crush it in the entrepreneur world. You've got this.
All right, cool.
Bye.